Hello, a warm welcome to viewers in Uyo, the Akwa State capital, and from around the world. This is Worldview. My name is Xavier. Banned from classrooms to stop them from disrupting learning. Iran facing legal action at International Court of Justice over shooting down of Ukraine International Airlines flight PS752 in January 2020. The Taliban order hair and beauty salons in First on Worldview today, the Dutch government has announced that devices including mobile phones are set to be banned from classrooms to stop them from disrupting learning. The initiative is being introduced in collaboration with schools and is to take effect at the start of next year. There will be some exceptions, including for students with medical needs or a disability, and for classes focused on digital skills. The ban is not legally enforceable, but may become so in people's lives. They do not belong in the classroom. He said students must be able to concentrate there and be given every opportunity to learn well. And from scientific research, mobile phones disrupt this. Various studies have found limiting children's screen time is linked to improved cognition and concentration. Other tech, including tablets and smart watches, parents and pupils, including whether they wanted to completely ban devices from schools. The scheme is the result of an agreement between the ministry, schools, and related organizations. It will be reviewed at the end of the 2024 and 2025 school year to see how well it had worked and whether a legal ban is needed. The announcement follows a similar decision by Finland last week. France have also proposed banning mobile phones to improve learning. Away from that, Iran is facing legal action at the International Court of Justice over the shooting down of Ukraine International Airlines flight PS752 in January 2020, who were killed. The plane was hit by 2 missiles fired by a Revolutionary Guards Air Defense Unit after it took off from Tehran 3 days later. Iran admitted mistakenly shooting down the plane. The Revolutionary Guards Aerospace Force said an air defense unit had mistaken the force's personnel to prison. For victims' families rejected the verdicts as meaningless and unacceptable. Away from that, Russia says there was no basis to extend its export of agricultural products. Russia's foreign ministry said that it is obvious that there are no grounds for the further continuation of the Black Sea Initiative, which expires on July 17. And reports say that the conflicts between Russia and Ukraine, both major, recall that in July 2022, the agreement allowing Ukrainian grain exports to restart was signed, as well as a parallel memorandum on unhindered Russian food and fertilizer exports. Moscow has also accused Ukraine of destroying a section of a pipeline Russia used to export ammonia, a core component of fertilizer. The foreign ministry also said that most of the Ukrainian exports were going to wealthy countries, contradicting data provided by the UN and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's nuclear power plant. A statement came after Kiev and Moscow traded accusations of preparing an incident at the plant, which is Europe's largest. Fears over the safety risks for the nuclear plant have persisted throughout Russia's invasion. Zelensky said in a statement after a phone call with his French counterpart that he warned Emmanuel Macron that the occupation troops are preparing dangerous provocations at the Zaporizhzhia plant. In his address, Zelensky said Russia had installed was earlier made by the Ukrainian army, which warned of the possible preparation of a provocation on the territory of the Zaporizhzhia power plant in the near future. In a related development, Russian President Vladimir Putin is to continue to oppose Western sanctions following Moscow's invasion of Ukraine. Putin's address month's mutiny in Russia. Reports say Putin used the platform to send a message on defiance. He added that more than 80% of trade between Chinese and Russian people was in rubles and yuan, and urged other SCO members to follow the same and tech cooperation, among other things. Away from that, there have reportedly been intense exchanges of fire between Israeli forces and armed Palestinian militants in Jenin refugee camp in the occupied West Bank cities. Reports say the Israeli military began one of its most extensive operations in the territory in years with drone strikes early on Monday. Health officials said that 9 Palestinians have been killed and 100 injured. Palestinian Intifada. Israeli forces allegedly launched a full-scale incursion in Jenin. At least 52 Palestinian militants and civilians and 23 Israeli soldiers were killed during 10 days of intense fighting. In a separate development, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has urged Israel to protect Palestinian civilians as the country's armed forces waged their biggest operation. Palestinian reportedly terrorist attacks as he was grilled by members of parliament on an array of issues. Sunak said the UK also called on Israel to adhere to principles of necessity and proportionality. So the visit to Beijing, planned for next week by the European Union's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell. Reports say that the senior EU official was due to head to China for talks with Nabila Mazrali. Said they were informed by the Chinese counterparts that the envisaged dates next week are no longer possible and must now look for alternatives. The cancellation comes after EU leaders at a summit in Brussels last week backed a strategy aimed at reducing the bloc's dependency on China for key tech and components. Meanwhile, China says the UK is sheltering fugitives at its London embassy came after the UK said it would not tolerate attempts by China to silence individuals in the UK or overseas. Reports say that the 8 left the former British territory after Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law in 2020. Hong Kong's chief executive John Lee said they would be pursued for life. He urged them to give themselves up, adding that otherwise they would spend their days in fear. In a separate development, the Taliban have ordered hair and beauty salons in Afghanistan to shut in the latest restriction faced by women. A Vice and Virtue Ministry spokesman told media businesses had 1 month to comply in 2021. They have barred teenage girls and women from classrooms, gyms, and parks, and most recently, even banned them from working for the United Nations. The Taliban have also decreed that women should be dressed in a way that only reveals their eyes and must be accompanied by a male relative if they are traveling more than 72 kilometers. After the break, indications have emerged that South Sudan's right after the break. Many thanks for staying tuned. Well, South Sudan's President re-election in the polls, the first since the country gained independence. No other candidate has declared their candidacy, but first Vice President Riek Machar is also expected to run. Reports say Kir has been president since independence in 2011 after a long-running civil war, but conflict continued even after independence. The civil war broke out in 2013 when the president fell out with Machar. Recall that a power-sharing agreement was signed between the warring parties in August 2018 in a bid to allow the leaders address challenges with the implementation of the peace agreement. Kir said those challenges will be addressed before the elections set for December next year. Away from that, Somali forces have assumed security responsibilities in 5 of 6 sectors where African Union AU troops have been deployed. The Defense Ministry said it Ethiopia, Kenya and Uganda. The statement came after the scheduled withdrawal of 2,000 AU troops expected to have left by 30th June. Reports further say that most of the military bases so far handed over are located in the lower expected to leave by the end of September, with the entire force due to be out of Somalia by the close of 2024. Away from that, French President Emmanuel Macron has raised the idea of handing out quick-fire fines to the parents of children caught committing vandalism or robberies as part of the during riots. More than 1,200 are minors. Meeting police officers in Paris, Macron thanked them for their work and floated the idea of speedy punishments for parents who fail to control their children. Tabrez Ansari, aged 24, died days after being attacked by people who accused him of stealing a motorcycle in the eastern state of Jharkhand. A video showing Ansari being forced to say chants praising Hindu gods while pleading for his life. The state police denied any wrongdoing. The video footage from the night of 19th June 2019 showed a terrified Ansari tied to an electricity pole and being assaulted by the mob, with blood and tears reportedly streaming down his face. His attackers forced him to repeatedly chant Jai Shri Ram, which translates from Hindi to Hail Lord Ram, or Victory to Lord Ram. Ansari did as told, but the mob kept assaulting him through the night. He was handed over to police the next day, who then arrested him for theft. Investigating after cocaine was found at the White House on Sunday night. The discovery in the West Wing, which contains the Oval Office and other working areas for presidential aides and staff, led to a brief evacuation. Secret Service agents found the suspicious powder in an area that is accessible to terror groups while doing a routine inspection. President Joe Biden and a storage facility routinely used by White House staff and guests to store mobile phones. A preliminary test later confirmed the substance was cocaine. The Secret Service will lead a full review of how it got into the White House. They said cameras and entrance logs would be examined to determine who had access to the area where it was found. Elsewhere, 60 years of conflict. The National Liberation Army (ELN) said it would stop fighting from Thursday ahead of a full ceasefire in August. Colombia's defense minister confirmed the armed forces would also be told to groups. The announcement comes after the 6-month ceasefire was agreed last week. This is due to come into force on 3rd August. If it holds, it would be the longest halt in the conflict. The ELN has agreed to since first taken up arms against the Colombian state in 1964, but there is skepticism about it succeeding. ELN members killed 3 policemen in northeastern Colombia on the day the ceasefire was announced. And a week earlier, government forces killed 6 soldiers from the group in the east of the country. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, himself a former member of the now defunct M19 rebel group, promised to bring total peace to the country. Worldview today, U.S. actor Allison Mack has been released from prison early after serving 2 years for her role in a sex trafficking case tied to a cult-like group. The 40-year-old pleaded guilty to racketeering and conspiracy. Her role in the television series Smallville was sentenced to 3 years in prison. The Federal Bureau of Prisons confirmed she had been released on Monday. NEXIM started in 1998 as a self-help program. It claims to have worked with more than 16,000 people, including the son of a former Mexican president and Hollywood actresses such as Mark. The prosecutors say Mark helped recruit and groom women as sexual partners. Mark served as one of his top female deputies. Female recruits were allegedly branded with his initials and expected to have sex with him in exchange for becoming a part of the group, which was based in Albany, New York. And with that, we wrap up our package for you on Worldview today. My name is Xavier Robert, reaching you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. And you have been watching Worldview on Spectrum TV. Do enjoy the rest of our programming today. Bye-bye for now.
you.